It is Monday, August 30th, and this is the iPhoneography podcast. Hello, everyone. My name is Greg McMillan, and I am joined by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Dave Podner. How you doing, bud?
Doing good, Greg. How you doing tonight?
Not too bad. It's cooled down. We had a storm front go through, so the temperatures are a little more seasonal.
That's
And
good. Hopefully no damage.
oh no, it was a bit of a thunderstorm, but not much.
Good to hear.
Good rain. We needed it, and I'm probably going to be cutting the grass tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. This is episode 43. And I think what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about the Struman Macro Lens that I received. And then we're going to jump into some iPhone 13 rumors because it's coming quick, I think. So, all right. So let's just jump right to it. I received a Struman Cinematic Macro Lens, and okay, quick little backstory. Mike James from the Smartphone Photography Training out of Australia heard that I was doing this book about macro, and he thought I should try one of these lenses out. So he got a hold of Struman. He's an ambassador for Struman. He got a hold of them, and they sent me this lens. And thank you very much, Struman Optics. This thing is phenomenal, and I love it. And so, just real quick, what came in the box is this little case, and it has the lens and a clip. If you don't have a case, which I have the case. So it's a thread mount or a screw mount, and it screws right on there. But if you don't have the case, that's fine. Or if you don't have an iPhone, this clip is really well built. It really like that pinches pretty darn good on the finger. So it really will hold the lens on there nicely. And I tried it, and it works actually pretty good. But the lens itself comes with a lens cap. I am not good at holding things in front of the camera. So it comes with the lens cap, and it also has a cap on the back that protects the backside and keeps the dust out, which is, I found that to be a real problem with the Moment lenses. They don't have anything to cover the back of the lens. They just have the little pouch that you put it in to carry it in. But it's really nice to be able to cover that back of that lens and keep it clean. So there's that. And then there's, of course, the instructions or whatever to get started. It also comes with a cool looking lens cloth. And haven't used it yet, but I'm sure I will. So that's what's in the case. And a little bit about the lens is that it's okay. So what's special about Struman cinematic lenses is the variable focus, the extra focus ring on these things. And so this lens is like the equivalent of a 22 to 82 millimeter focal length. Variable focus technology, multi-coated, and it has a 1.8 aperture. So it lets in a pretty decent amount of light. And I'm going to share some pictures that I took with this thing. And there, you should be able to see a yellow flower, Dave.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah, I do see the single yellow flower with that is very nicely in focus, and a little bit of focus on some of the.
It's a fence in the background.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one thing about macro is that if you don't know what to expect, I don't know if it was a piece of fiber, because it is fibrous. I wasn't sure if it was like a cloth or like a wicker type chair. Maybe it was in front of.
Yeah, it's just like a rough finish fence, and these these little flowers are growing kind of right along the ground along this fence. So, when I do a flower like that, I always try to focus on the stamen which is right around there, around the center of the flower. And generally, I'll try to angle the camera so that I get, maybe some edges of the petals in focus as well, just to give it, some extra sharpness in the overall image. But yeah, I was really happy with how it uh, was able to focus, and the clarity of the glass is really nice. This is one of my favorites. the we have a rose of Sharon tree or a bush in our backyard, and the bees just love it because of all the pollen. So all this pollen that's on these things here, and this guy was so covered with pollen he could barely fly. Excuse me.
I'm about to say
And
it actually looks like snow. There's so much pollen on the bee.
oh yeah, and some of them were getting in. Some of them were getting in here, like right at the base of the petals, and we're getting stuck. And they had to really pull themselves, like really work their little legs to get themselves pushed back out. Just having a cup of tea. And so yeah, like so if you're listening to the audio, this Rose of Sharon, it's a nice big pink flower with a lot of pollen on the stamen coming out from the center. And this bumblebee is just trying to fly away, and he's just above the flower, with the greenery of the plant, of the shrub in the background, and the sun shining, and it's backlit, so you can actually see the shadow of the bee on this top petal of the flower. So it's really cool. One of my favorite shots of that day, and I took a lot of pictures, and I actually used burst mode in the native camera app for this one. And I usually use halide, but I'm finding to get these insects, I got to use burst mode. And I could take 20, well, this one here is a burst of 34 images, and I was able to get that one perfect shot. So little tip there, use burst mode when trying to shoot something that's moving.
Yeah, well, especially when you do macro,
Yeah.
any almost imperceivable movement that you're doing with your hand is magnified just because of how close you are.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, you can definitely tell the bee is moving, because if you look at the wings, it has the motion blur from the wings moving, but everything else is crisp.
Yeah, it worked out really well. And the nice thing about the Struman lens is that, well, I'll get to this as I go here, but where the variable focus comes in, this is just a plain unedited shot of a little yellow flower with a lot of green leaves around it. And it was, I don't know how far away I was from this little guy, but I was pretty close.
Okay, well, I was going to say one advantage of using a lens like you're using versus an app is that you can use the burst mode. That's the built-in camera app, versus like me trying to use Camera Plus 2 or other things that are used software. Of course, when you're using software, they a lot of times limit a lot of the functions, such as trying to do a burst mode or video, which unless you have specific, I don't know if there is a program you may know that will let you do a macro video in software, but obviously with an external lens you can do that. So that is definitely that is a big advantage of using physical versus software.
Yeah, that's right. That's a really good point. If you're looking at doing video, you pretty much have to have one of these macro lenses attached, because I haven't heard of any software or like any app that does it. Gosh, unless you shoot as close as you can and crop it, but I mean that's not really
still doesn't
macro.
really work.
Yeah. So there we go. This one was a little flower about the size of a quarter. We were over at a local waterfall, and this was just in the lawn, uh, heading towards the falls, and I was, really taken aback at how solitude, like how it looks so lonely in the lawn all by itself. But then when you get in with the macro lens, um, it just makes it the center of attention. And of course, again, I angled the camera so that I could focus on the stamen and then get these petals that are in the back of the flower, get them sharp as well. And then when I did the edit on this, I took the definition up a little bit. And I just did this in Photos, in the Photos app. I took the definition up to really bring out the veins in the petals,
Mm-hmm.
and give it just a wee bit of vignette. I always like to give a little bit of vignette to my images, but this one here, it actually didn't need it. It was a natural. It was an overcast day, and just the way the trees were and close by, and I was kind of blocking some light with my body and whatnot. It just kind of gave it a natural vignette. But it's just a little pink flower, very faded pink, with a lot of green grass around it. And the Struman lens, just the glass is so good quality. It's so clear. Um, I just can't believe how good it was. So if you're listening to the audio, you might want to check the video, because these are, I'm not patting myself in the back here, I guess, but these are darn good quality pictures, I think. And you can do these with any phone, with that clip-on thing. Like, it doesn't have to be an iPhone; it could be an Android phone, and you'll be able to get these. So it's pretty cool. These little flowers, these were so small. These little white flowers, they're in little clusters in a flower bed at that waterfall. And using focus peaking in halide, I was able to make sure I got the petals and stuff like that that are closest to me in focus. And again, the nice thing about the variable focus on the Struman lens is you can get in close or back up a little bit, but you can still get that focus. There's a wider range of focus with that lens. Like, without it, you've got your manual focus and you've got so much room to play with, but this just expands it so much more. Like, I could be 6 inches away from something and still use that lens to get a shot. Whereas with the moment lens, I'd be lucky if I could get 2 or 3 probably maybe 3 centimeters away. And that's about as far as I can get. So pretty cool stuff. Now, this is a video. This is the raw video I took. And and audio listeners, sorry, I'm going on about this without you being able to see it, but what it is it's a bee on these little white flowers, and it was closer to me, but then it flew off to these little flowers that were a little further away from the lens. But I was able to use that focus ring to manually focus down to where it was and actually get coverage of it. So there I am, I'm trying to focus it. It gets to be in focus, and I did this in slow motion, or otherwise you probably wouldn't be able to see any of it. But I was able to get in close without getting in close, if that makes any sense, because the manual focus just has that extra range that you're allowed to get the shot. So that was just the raw video. I put the actual good video on Instagram, and there he goes. And then this was the good video. I won't bother playing it, but it's just a little video of the same thing, the music, but just the bee in focus. And this was a little sunflower that we got today for the house, and I'm just blown away by the Christmas of this lens. So it's the top part of the the big brown part in the middle. These are small sunflowers, about the size of a maybe the opening of a coffee cup. So that's goes to show you how small the flower is compared to a normal sunflower. But if I used halide with focus peaking, and with the focus peaking, you see these green things light up where the sharp edges are. And I made sure that all these little, I don't even know what they are. The seeds are actually closer down into the center, but these are on the outside of the seeds before the petals start. And they they were in focus, and then some of the edges of the petals were in focus. And other than that, there's no editing on this image. It's just cropped to 16 by 9. So just so happy with the clarity of this lens. And then this was a screen recording I did with halide to show how I think it might have been that shot, I'm not sure. So you can see where the green lights up on the focus areas. And what I did was I had halide on manual focus set at the closest focus range. And then I moved the camera out, and I think I might have adjusted the halide focus a bit. Yeah, I did. But then I also played with the manual focus to show how it moves in and out as well. And it's, go to the YouTube channel, check it out. It's pretty cool to watch how it works. And that was that. And that was it.
Well, this also, Greg, this also shows the necessity to go out there when you have your equipment, even if you're just, I want to say, just shooting with an iPhone or whatever, device you have, without just testing it. The fact that, because if you're, let's say if you're going out there saying, okay, I'm going for a particular shot, but you haven't had the time to test and get familiar with your adjustments. You don't want to say, oh, I have the perfect shot. Oh, wait a minute. Should I move this way? Do I do this instead of this? Do I do this? You have that, okay, I know from past experience that I need to work software and hardware combined to get the shot I want. But you only really get that by testing it out like you've been doing.
Yeah.
And
because
getting a good feel for it.
Yeah. And I'm still getting used to which way I have to turn that, to see which way it has to go to get closer or further away. And, still getting used to which way that has to go. And, that came in real handy today when I was out. My wife and I took her mom down to a gardens down at the local, I guess it's the local arena, but they've got a garden center kind of thing out, like that the garden club, the city garden club, looks after it. And it's there's lots of different flowers and stuff down there. And so while they were sitting there enjoying the sun, and my wife's got the dog with her, I thought, well, I'll take a few minutes to mosey around these gardens and take a few shots. And, getting to know which way that focus ring moved, I was able to work a little faster, but yet just as efficiently. So, it's pretty cool. So that's, that's my early experiences with the Struman lens. And boy, oh boy, I feel sorry for my Moment macro lens. It's going to collect some dust, I think. But and before we go any further, I want to give a shout out to the bloody legend, Shane Mostyn. Here, I'll stand up so you can see it on YouTube. Bloody Legends, Shane Mostyn. And I've got my shirt on that says, "It's the duck's nuts." And I can tell you that Struman lens is the duck's nuts. That's a phrase they use in Australia that, here in Canada anyway, we say the cat's meow a lot. But in Australia, it's the duck's nuts. And it sure is. So, I got this shirt the other day that I ordered from Shane, and I told him I was going to wear it tonight. So there it is. So that's the Struman lens, and pretty happy with it. And can't thank Struman enough, and Mike James for his part in it. And just totally happy with it. So now we're going to talk about some rumors. And we don't cover rumors a whole lot, but because September is just around the corner, like a day or two away, that means there could very well be an iPhone announcement, and I think it's going to be on time this year, not late like last year. So, Dave, you wanted to get into some of these rumors about the iPhone 13. So, let her rip.
Okay. Well, and also we were thinking about when to actually talk about the rumors. And the reason I'm kind of looking over, I have a calendar over there, is like I said, normally it is the first Tuesday in September is the iPhone event. We figured this year, I know Apple was, I'm without knowing, but having a good feeling for event planning per se, I'm sure they wanted to have this as their big first live, everyone come in person to the Steve Jobs Theater, and Tim would, hi everyone, welcome back. It's so great to see you all in person.
Good morning, like he always
exactly,
says.
yeah. And unfortunately, with the latest spike in COVID with the Delta variant and companies canceling travel, and outside of Apple, outside of California, just companies starting to cancel travel, they probably made this decision, saying we're going to do this another. So I would expect this is going to be another video. Their production quality has gotten amazing on
Oh
these
yeah.
events.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
are.
and unlike some places, I'm 90% sure everything's done internally. They don't go out to outside company to produce, because this is also how they test it. When they, with the latest Mac Pro, the cheese grater version 2.0, they basically brought a whole bunch of people in and said, okay, we want you to actually do real production on this machine and tell us why you like it, why you don't like it, instead of, so I'm assuming this is part of their testing of new software, new hardware, saying, okay, we're going to make this basically mini movie. And I'm assuming it's going to be maybe this one may be long. I'm thinking this one maybe, unless they're going to break it to two different events, which there's a rumor, two events where, iPhone, maybe iPhone, Apple Watch 1, iPad, iMac, or MacBook Pro on the other. But if they combine it in one, it's going to be long. If they have everything, including the recap of the new iOS and the new Watch OS and the new Mac OS and 4 different products, that's going to be a 2.5 hour, which I think they're going to cut it down. But so I'm thinking virtual, normally second Tuesday, but the first Monday is actually Labor Day in the US. So it'll be the first, because this is one of the big US holidays where, unless you are, in healthcare or retail, if you're an office worker, most office workers get off on Labor Day. So
yeah, same here.
Yeah. So I can't see that, with everyone being their first day back, that of course first day back from a long weekend for most people, and this is normally the end of summer break traditionally. So Apple of course wants the most amount of eyeballs on it, having that first day back where it's like, oh, first day back and the kids are just back to school. Some places start this week, some places start next week. It depends on the schools down here. So I could see them waiting maybe till Wednesday or maybe even the second Tuesday of the month to actually have the event. So it either could be, and the thing is, we won't know until a week before when Apple sends out the invites. Like they did the last few virtual events. It's a week before they say, and of course, everyone then looks at the invite and goes, oh, you see that squiggle right there? That squiggle means that there's going to be a new software and a new hardware piece. And like, because of this purple squiggle, yes, don't you see it? It's okay. But until we know that, we won't know. But I'm guessing either the 8th or the 14th.
Yeah.
Apple loves Tuesday. So either they're going to push it back a day to have it on the 8th. If they have it on the 8th, pre-order on the 10th. Physical availability on the 17th. If it's not until the 14th, then 17th and 24th.
Yeah.
And like you said, I don't think they're going to have, unless, and all the, Apple seems to be the one company that is so far can work around the chip shortages. And I think that's because they buy out so much chip production and they don't use commodity chips. So, Apple say go to TSMC or Samsung, whoever makes a chip, and say, by the way, here's the machine. We will build the machine, or we'll have the machine built for us that will make the chip. It's our machine, but you're using our machine to build these chips. So it's not a matter of they're buying a chip from XYZ, like a Snapdragon and Android that's in everyone else. So you have to get in line. It's like, no, we're making our own machine. So we have our own line. So we don't have to worry about chip shortages. So I don't think there's going to be like you said, last year where the Max was delayed until October.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking everything's going to be available. Now it's going to be hard. It's going to be one of those things of, let's say if it comes available Friday at 3 a.m. Eastern, midnight Pacific US time, it's sold out within 10 minutes, but it'll be available at least.
Well, last year when I ordered the Max, the actual pre-order wasn't till like it was 5 a.m. Pacific, so it was 8 a.m. for me. Okay. And when I ordered it, I got the one I wanted, and it was said it was going to be here on time, and it was. So mind you, they were a little later coming out, which gave them time to catch up on the production and stuff. But I'm hearing that the production this year is going to be pretty much right on schedule. So so what are you hearing that's going to be in this thing? Anything that's like a game changer compared to the 12?
I honestly, I think it's going. First of all, everything that's coming out, they're going to call it the iPhone 13.
Yeah,
but it's a 12s, where the case will pretty much be the same. Mm-hmm. If you pick one up versus the other, and you put it in a case so you can't tell color, because they're always going to have on the Pros, they're going to have the one color it's a little different. They'll probably tweak the gold a little bit.
I heard they might come out with a bronze.
Yeah, a bronze. The gold may be more of a bronzy, and the black may be, instead of the space gray, dark gray, it may be a matte black.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be the dark gray, black, white, goldish, and then the fourth color. Mm-hmm. And it'll probably be a muted fourth color for the Pro, because that tends to what they do. Because remember, 2 years ago, it was the muted green.
Yeah.
Which I would love if they would still have that, because I love that color.
Yeah, that was a nice green.
The blue last year was that kind of steel. It wasn't a bright, happy blue, but it was a nice, muted blue. Yeah. So if it's going to be something, it's going to be another muted color. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the blue doesn't stand out like the non-Pros do.
Right.
So.
So
yeah, not a lot of changes. I don't to the eye.
Except the camera bump. I hear it's going to be bigger,
right? With
bigger cameras, and it's going to take up a little more real estate, I think, on the backside.
Exactly. So
and your 12K, your 12 case, 12 Pro Max case, or whatever, I doubt that it's going to fit.
It depends on how much bigger the bump is. I think it depends on how close the case is. Because I know it's kind of weird, but the cheaper the case, the kind of more wiggle room they give.
Right. Since yeah.
A lot of the early cases are based. All the cases. I was going to say most of the cases now are being produced based on guesses, so they can't make it that tight, because if it's off a millimeter, it won't fit. So they make it just enough where if they're just a little off, it'll fit. So
yeah,
maybe not, but the thicker bump. Now, if people are saying that means there's going to be a camera upgrade, possibly.
Yeah, because I heard a while ago that they could be putting the sensor stabilization on all the cameras.
Right. And moving it down at least to both Pros.
Yep.
Maybe moving it all the way to the non-Pro. I don't see them doing that for differentiation. Not that they couldn't do it, but you want to differentiate why you want a Pro versus a non-Pro.
Yeah.
at least the non-max size. So if you have, and the sizes are going to stay the same, it looks like.
Hmm.
So the screen sizes, they're going to keep the mini. This may be the last year for the mini. So, but you know, you look at the normal non-pro and the smaller pro, you have to have a reason to buy one versus the other, because right now there's not a lot of difference other than the LiDAR and the zoom lens. Other than that, and the stainless versus the aluminum case, which if you put it in the case, you won't notice.
Yeah, that's right.
Or colors, you know, like the non-pros are the brighter, happier, cheerier colors. But yeah, I can see them saying lessening the differentiation between the Pro and the Pro Max to just size. It's the same internals, which it kind of already is, but same. They may even make it 2.5 now for the Pro, the non-Max Pro, versus, because right now it's only 2 for the telephoto.
Right.
So they may say, well, you know what? We made them the same. And the only difference is, do you want 6.1 or I think it's 6.7 the max?
Yep.
So, you know, depends on size, but other than size and of course cost, there's no difference between both pros. I could see them doing that. And of course, making minor tweaks and edits, minor tweaks to the cameras. But generally, if you look at the, and not that the S's aren't always big bumps, you look at the difference between the 4 and the 4S, major difference in the camera. Because
yeah, for sure.
Ruth had the 4, I had the 4S. If you look at it, it looked identical, but the camera is so significantly better on the S. You know, the 6 versus 6S, the 7 versus 7S. The S is gives you that little, it's kind of like, well, we already have our big change. We're just now going to refine and make it better. So like I said, I see this being an S. The one rumor I did see, well, okay, but besides the difference between, let's say, the Pro and a non-Pro, like I said, I think LiDAR will remain Pro only, which kind of makes sense. I can see portrait video, and I've seen rumors of what they're calling a ProRes video, which is a higher quality video, being Pro only. Possibly they'll have, like, I know the Pro Max, I think that has a little bit more RAM than the non-Pro Max, partially because you have bigger screen, more pixels, and you need the extra RAM. But I can see them boosting up the non-Max Pro, so like I said, to make it equal between both pros. So they'll say, if you want the ProRes video with the higher blah, 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 whatever they're going to call it, or the portrait video, they're going to say you need the Pro. But of course, there'll be third-party software that'll be able to do it in the non-Pro. Maybe not as buttery smooth, maybe not as nice, maybe not as whatever, but it'll still be able to do it. So I can definitely see that. So where people last year were like, oh, I like the 2.5 versus the 2 telephoto, because I took my phone in for service, possible service, and they told me, no, we can't service it last week. So I was able to play very quickly because they were really efficient. They saw they couldn't fix it. They told me they couldn't fix it. Didn't charge me for my out of warranty phone to see that. That's one of the reasons why, I hate to say you pay a little more for Apple for the service. But I was able to play with the Max they had there for display. And the 2.5 versus the 2, you would not think it makes that much of a difference, but it just felt so much more.
Yeah, it's the focal length, the 35 millimeter equivalency for the focal length is like 52 to 65.
Yep.
So that is kind of a significant difference.
Right.
And I almost got the Pro because the Pro telephoto had an aperture of 2.0, whereas the Pro Max has 2.2. And I kind of wanted to try to weigh the difference between getting that little bit of extra light
Mhm.
or the little bit of extra reach, and I went for the extra reach, and I'm glad
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Well, also with the sensor stabilization,
Yes,
that I
on
think
the
is on the Max.
yeah,
That
and
I
that's just
think,
on the wide. Yeah.
right. And I think that'll, well, okay. So yeah, like I said, if they extend that out, and I also saw one rumor of a better the super wide lens
Hmm.
um being better for low light.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it could be an f1.8.
Yeah, I saw that rumor. So that'll be interesting to see if they pull it to make that much of a jump.
And to give that one pro rod too would be
Yeah.
nice.
So like I
Um,
said, and like I said, we've seen in the past where the full version, like I said, the 4, the 6, the 7s, the, in this case the 12. Oh, we have something new here, but the next year they're able to extend because they have the experience, they have production, for the lens itself. They can say, okay, we made 100 million of these, so we are so good with making these now, we can now extend it out, or our partners can extend it out. We have all this extra, so now we're going to expand it out since we have
yeah.
another year. So the better super wide would be nice. That would
Hmm.
definitely be nice, especially like I said, to have like I said, the dark, where it's better in, even just without going into the special mode, just better dark, better
Yeah.
night would be nice. And that's another rumor I saw where this could be, like every year they don't have to, but they seem to have one wow moment. Last
One
year,
of those things that they always say it's coming later this fall in an
right,
update.
right. But one of those things that it's visually just hit you in the face.
Yeah.
2 years ago, it was, I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Deep
The
fusion.
Deep Fusion. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
sweater mode is what everyone called
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Which now kind of is just incorporated, so it's not that big of a deal. But I'm gonna say it's not that big of a deal, but it's not a talking point anymore, I
No,
should
because
say.
all the 12s got it,
Right,
and
right.
it's yeah.
It's pushed out, but it was something they could say, look at this amazing photo.
Hmm.
Last year it was the night mode, where they could say, and this is the kind of picture you can take. Here it is with it off. You can barely see. You see two little dots. It's completely dark, and then you click the switch. You do the thing. You don't even need the tripod. It notices, and then all of a sudden it's like, but it doesn't. But it's not overblown like you have a spotlight out there. It
Right.
still looked natural, but everything was brought out.
Yeah. I mean, they
So
had night mode in the 11 Pro,
right,
and I'm not, maybe the 11 too. I'm not sure, but it was okay at best.
right.
And but with the 12s, it came out and they made it exponentially better.
Yeah.
And in actually with the 12 Pros, you were able to do portrait mode at night, which
Right,
was
because of the lidar. Because
yeah,
that lidar makes a big difference. So
yeah.
the big rumor this year, the big ooh moment will be astrophotography, which people are now doing. Now I know Shane does it in Australia. He does an amazing job.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it blows me, like I said, but it'll be a matter of the phone will know because of the gyroscopes and internal. It knows how you're holding the phone,
Or
which
if you're
is
even holding it, or if it's on a tripod,
right,
yeah.
but it'll know that you're pointing up now. So it'll know that you're taking a photo of the night sky. So it'll do its own, of course, they'll say our own processing on device. And of course, Apple tends to push that a lot, which makes sense. That is one of
Hmm.
their strengths, on device processing,
Yeah.
since they can actually say, okay, we're going to put a special bit hardware, not just software, hardware on the chip that just deals with astrophotography and the computation needed for astrophotography only. So you'll know that you're at night, you're pointing up to the sky, and it'll do all the necessary adjustments behind the scenes, probably stacking, some kind of stabilization if you're holding it. Like I said, you'll know if you're holding it versus on a tripod versus leaning it up against something in terms of how shaky you are.
Yeah.
And they'll be, I'm sure and of course they're going to give it to people ahead of time. So there's people now with the 13, obviously. No, no one says it, but there are people out there going out there taking the special photos. Austin Man, I'm sure, is some amazing place, and
Right
I'm
now,
assuming,
he'd be doing
right.
that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And I'm assuming with the astrophotography, he is far away from any city lights where best, and honestly, everyone does this. This is not cheating. You set yourself up for the best case scenario.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they're going to
Like
come
Shane
out.
Mostyn has it made where he is, because
Oh yeah.
he lives where he lives in Australia. There's prime astrophotography areas, and he doesn't
And
have to
that
go
help.
far from home.
And that's a big help. But they're going to come out and you're going to see these pictures. And of course, the one thing I'm assuming you're going to see two things as the big one. You're going to see shots with the full moon. And this is just a sheer guess, but if you want a wow image, because that is the hardest thing to do, is a full moon when it's, you have the dark sky, you have the moon, which overblows everything else. And they're going to come out and say, and this was taken either handheld or, no additional processing, or, they'll try to make it that anyone can do it. And it'll be one of those shots where it's like, I can't get that with my $5,000 camera
Yeah.
because of, you see people, and I give credit to professional photographers. Dave DeSillo is a local Pittsburgh guy. He will come out and say, okay, this shot I took here of the moon and the city, they are composites of two shots that I took, because I had to do the moon with an exposure, and I used a 300 millimeter lens to compress the image and make the moon look bigger. But I couldn't, of course, you can't get the exceptionally bright moon and a really dark city on the same shot. So he'll say, they're two shots composited. I put them together, but they're real shots. I didn't edit one or the other, that much, but they'll say something like, okay, here's a full moon shot, but you can see, even though it's a full moon, you can see detail on the moon. You can see, they may even make it where it's good enough to see craters. That'd be great. That may be a stretch.
Well,
Could
I'm
they
hearing
do it?
too that they might have some telescopic zoom on it too. Like,
That'd be good. Like a
I mean,
periscope. If they can do periscope zoom, that'd be
yeah,
great. That'd be
yeah.
great. Combined with software zoom. Maybe like I know like Google had on their Pixel phone where they could make it, and stacking images and using the different cameras to make it better in software. So Apple, if they can get the software and hardware and the neural processing and all together, that would be great. So I can see them saying this moonshot was taken without editing. We just had someone go out and just, of course, like I said, and the other thing I see is, of course, the Milky Way.
Yeah.
They're going to have pictures, tons of photos of either the Milky Way or, and I don't know if they can do this. This would be a shock if they could do it. The Aurora Borealis. Just that would be, I can see it as stretch case. If they could get one of those, because that would be a wow image.
Yeah, for sure.
They may not say, well, this was someone who also had, because a lot of times they'll, like when you've seen in the past, say like, oh, someone did a music video on an iPhone. Well, they did it on an iPhone, no lies. They also had $30,000 worth of equipment with lighting and an external mic and one of those stabilization handheld, maybe even with a rolling dolly on it that you could roll the person, and they're doing this to get it. And it's like, okay, you shot in an iPhone, but you spent, that's not, I can't go out and do it. Okay. I can't go out and do it type thing. So
no, that's right.
And I can see the same thing with, like the astrophotography. It's going to be, first of all, it'd be great in terms of a presentation. It's like people just look at the photos, you go, wow. And if they can make it where the average person could drive off or go to a darker area. Now, I where I'm at, even though I'm in the outskirts of Pittsburgh, I'm close enough where I have light pollution. So I would not be able to get shot. But if I drive a half hour out from my house, so I'm maybe a good hour away from the city center, if I go to the right area, it's pitch dark, away from any buildings or lights or highways, where you could get that really dark, especially if it's a nice low humidity, low, just get it nice. You could have the shot on the phone where you do get you get that beautiful Milky Way look, which was just a minor editing. And that's something I think Apple would love to have, where it's one thing to see it in a presentation or see it on the website. Yeah. But if I can go to a coworker, or I go to a family member and say, or even post it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you want to post it, glass probably be better because of higher quality, but in terms of an average family member, and say, I took this shot, not a professional, not someone paid at Apple. I went out, did this, took the shot, and minimal process. If I can say, if they can get away with it, minimal processing, and say, this is a shot I got. It looks like something that would have taken a professional grade camera 5 years ago. And that is the kind of word of mouth I think Apple wants. Where the same thing with portrait mode, that when portrait mode came out, I took portrait mode shots, and they weren't the best ever portrait mode shots, but very few people could actually do it with their other, with an Android phone. So I could take a photo, turn it around, say, here's a picture of your grandbaby. And it was portrait mode. And they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. If you could do it where, say, hey, I was out last night. Here's a photo of the night sky I got, or here's a photo of fireworks I got from last night. And by the way, I took this with my phone. And that is something Apple, I think, would love, because A, it's a great experience. B, word of mouth from someone personally to drive sales. Because you get, wait a minute, he took it, or she took it right there. Therefore, I got to get me that phone, because I can't do that on my phone.
Yeah.
So I can see, again, astrophotography, I could definitely see. It's one of those things that you may not use a lot, because I can tell you, if you live somewhere near a city, you got light pollution. If you live somewhere where you get rain, cloudy conditions, it's nothing you're going to use every day, but it's a great feature, and it will be the big wow pop. So that's my prediction there.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just bring up one more thing before we sign off here. Well, 1.5. Excuse me. I'm still going to stick with my prediction about the portrait mode video, and I think that's I don't know. I think that's a pretty solid guess. But the other thing that I found out just today was that they may be able to send text messages and make phone calls via satellite technology with the 13. I don't remember all the details, but it's with the help. What it is it's low Earth orbit satellites, and tapping into their technology and I think it has something to do with a company called Global Star.
And it's the Iridium it's the Iridium satellite constellation, where they put up hundreds, I think it may even be thousands, of low Earth orbit satellites. You need it because you're beaming now this is not streaming via satellite.
No.
And this is not free. That's the other thing to remember. You have to, and a lot of people who use satellite phones, and this was a decade plus ago, satellite phones at one time looked like the old car phones from the 1980s.
Yeah.
Because
with a great big thick antenna.
Big thick antenna, massive battery, because you're beaming your message not to a cell phone tower, directly to a satellite.
Yeah.
So you're going 100 plus miles wherever the satellite is.
And you got to be outside to do it too.
Right. And so, and you normally have to subscribe separately from your cell phone because cell phone companies are not involved with satellite.
Right.
So I could see them doing that, but I also saw it was on a supplier's note. So this, like, iPhones used to, I think they still might have an FM radio in them.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
They just never turned it on.
Right. Yeah.
So the chip they were using had an FM radio built into it because the chip supplier put it on all their chips for the modem. Apple just never turned it on. So they disabled it. So this could be similar, is that the chip they're going to use could do it, but they may not turn it on. Or now it'd be great if they did have a special deal with, like, said, it would be like, well, if you want to use it, because I think I saw, I'm trying to remember where I saw it, and I saw that it was like, if you want to send one text message, it's like $4.
Oh, wow.
And if you want the unlimited, just the text message, it's like $40-50 a month.
Yeah, that's
so
it's obviously something that's not going to be mainstream.
No,
You know,
this is
it'll be
definitely
the specific use cases only.
Yeah. Now, if you're someone who, let's say you go out and you regularly go in the middle of nowhere where there's no cell phone coverage, or you're a park ranger where you need that coverage where there's no cell phones, or you go somewhere where you may not have cell phone coverage at all, but you need it, not kind of be nice, need it for survival.
Yeah,
I could see that. I could definitely see that. So yeah, that is something where that's interesting, and it's a little, that'd be interesting to see if they actually highlight it, because I saw a similar rumor and I haven't seen it being shot down yet.
No, I haven't either. It could be one of those things that, when they show the big board at the back, when they were doing the live things, they would always show the big screen with all the little features and things that, like beacon and all these little things that they never mentioned, but they were there and were able to use them. And that could be one of these things that could be on, on that kind of a slide. But yeah, if I was to say yes or no to this to this technology being available in the iPhone 13, I'm going to say no, because I mean, Ming-Chi Kuo, I think his name is, I think he's the famous, leaker or whatever. He's the one that is saying this, and I guess he gets his information from the supply chain, and he thinks it's going to be there, but I don't know. I don't know. I guess if Apple wants to be the first one to the game with it, maybe they will have it. I'm going to say, let's say there's a 70% chance of it being there, but I don't know. I think it's going to be for such a small audience that I don't know how much attention it will get at the presentation. So I don't know. That's my take on it. But I mean, it would be a good thing for, like you say, people who spend a lot of time outside of a cell tower range or whatever, that could certainly make use of it. People up north, like you say, park rangers, things like that. So I don't know, 70% chance, I'd say. So, well, that's a pretty good look at some of the rumors. If by chance the keynote doesn't come before our next show, maybe we'll tap into a few more that we may have heard of between now and then. And, we'll see what we come up with. But I really think that the keynote's going to be I think I have a feeling it's going to be Wednesday, like the day after, like the first Wednesday after Labor Day. So um, we'll just wait and see. I'd hate to see it be delayed another week, the following Tuesday, and then do the
Yeah.
pre-order on the 17th or whatever it was, and then release on the 24th. But I don't know. We'll see. So I guess we got ourselves a show, and
Most definitely.
we will see what happens between now and then. So let's tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter as Prof Pod, and on iPhone, on Facebook as Dave Podner Jr.
Alrighty. You can find me on Instagram at Macmillan Photo, and Twitter Macmillan_photo. And just before we sign off, I'm going to give a little teaser here that we will have a big announcement coming up in the next, hopefully within the next week or so. And that's all I'm going to say. Big announcement coming up. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think Dave's pretty excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we will probably shock a few people. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, just kind of stay tuned for this big announcement. If I keep rambling on, I'm going to leak more about it. So I don't want to do that. So anyway, thanks, Dave. Good discussion. And
Always fun.
Yeah. And as they say up in here in Canada, keep your stick on the ice. And we'll see you on the next one.
Have a great one.